This book, my first, would not have been possible without the contributions and support of family, friends, fellow woodworkers, and clients that have blessed my life and encouraged my interests. Jim Vanderschaft, Down East Wood Art. Welcome to my shop. I want to walk through my book and give you an overview of it. This is shameless self-promotion, I understand, but there's a lot of details in this book, and a number of people have found it very useful. And it's not just for beginners, it has a lot of detail for more advanced people, and I just wanted to show you that. So the name of the book, An Adventure in the Art of Woodworking, Quickly Learn the Basics. 12 awesome do-it-yourself furniture projects, plus much more. Okay, so first, an acknowledgments page. That's all the people that have supported me over the years, and companies and things like that, and I certainly am grateful for all their support. Introduction, how did I get involved in woodworking, and a particular diagram that you might find useful that talks about the entire dimension of woodworking, from the woods, the safety, the finish, the joinery, the jigs, the design, the projects, the technology. And so the first thing, of course, is safety. Safety is absolutely fundamental, and one of the things that you want to be sure that you're safe about is your table saw. So I focus on table saws in general, specific things that can happen, and give you some really good pointers for what not to do and what to do. Next is a project on a step stool, a nice little step stool that was made. You can start off with this one. It's quite easy to make, and all the pictures show the particular dimensions and all the step-by-step efforts that you'll take to go through it. Everything you need to make this step stool. I claim there is not a single step left out of the step stool. All right, so to glue up. Then my essential power tools. This book is about power tools and hand tools, but this is a list of a table rather that illustrates against all the various projects. What are the power tools that are used? What are the ones that I find very useful? I keep going and talking about that. I've got all the different equipment. I made my own bandsaw. I use a planer. I use a joiner plane to get the edges straight, and that's a whole process that I won't go into. Drill press, other hand tools, router, etc. Tips on how to use these pieces of equipment, what works and what doesn't work. Okay, buying wood. This is key. Dimensions are actual size and nominal size. What are the grades of wood? What do you want to do when you check for price of wood? How board feet is calculated against hardwood versus softwood. Next project, a cherry cutting board with an inlay. How to build that, how to make it, how to cut things for it, how to glue it up, and how to finish it. Next project, an easy to build end table. And this is a very simple piece of furniture made out of fir or pine, and it gives you the cut list, it gives you everything that you need to do it. This is made with pocket screws. Then the pocket screw joinery method, how it works, how to use it. The next thing, a simple leg tapering jig, how to taper legs, how to make that jig, how to cut them, what to watch out for, what to take advantage of. A coat hanger rack, next project. A rather clever design that has a sweeping form at the bottom. It looks like an Eiffel Tower, and all the dimensions, all the angles, the cut list, and exactly what steps you need to take to make that. All the way through, using dowels, using dowel jigs, gluing it up, everything like that. So this happens to be a student in my course that put that one together. Next, joinery. Elements of joinery for many purposes. Here we start talking about seasonal humidity drives wood movement. Wood is a substance which absorbs water and expands in certain directions and dries out, and it decreases in dimensions. What are the forces on joints that apply? What are all the different types of joinery? How can you strengthen them? How can you make them better? The next project is designing and building a workbench, a very inexpensive one. I find that a lot of the workbench projects that I've seen require that you have the skills that you don't possess or the tools that you don't possess when they're asking you to make a workbench, which you need to start off with. So this is a very simple approach that uses 4x4s and a table, and the whole thing costs less than $250 to make. It goes into extensive detail about how to do that, how to take advantage of templates, how to save time by virtue of your projects, how to do marking. That's much better than you've probably seen, and allows you to make these things without mistakes. Then some of the techniques to use a workbench. Here's more on the basics and essentials of working with wood. How does wood expand and contract? Depending on where it's cut from the board, how you might check that with a moisture meter. A specific table on expansion and contraction of wood for different woods for different amount of humidity in your local wood. Why you should let wood just sit for a while before you use it in your shop. What are some of the things that you can do to avoid the problem of cross-grain wood movement and the problems that it causes if you don't accommodate it. My essential hand tools. Now we're talking about hand tools. We're talking about planes. We're talking about chisels. We're talking about things like that I use. And then we talk about sharpening methods. I talk here about what various tools were used with various projects. What are the essentials? What are the things that you need to have? What don't you need to spend money on? What are some of the planes and how they're used? Nice, warm and classy veneer hanging lamp. This is a design that was put together by Christian Becksworth, and I included it in the book because, while I gave him full credit, I wanted people to see a different technique of working with round objects as opposed to rectangular objects. All the things that you need to do that. Here's a cherry candelabra that I made. It's quite an unusual design, and that was interesting to build. The next project is a saddle seat stool, and this saddle seat is made out of laminated wood, and then it sits on top and allows rotation. So how to go about that? How to use a spline to lay out a nice gentle curve. Here's the square table hanging lamp that I put together. I've since modified this considerably and going to publish this in the next version. A closet into an office. This happened to be where a closet was and how that was turned into an office by some simple boards and simple design that allowed that to occur. How to make a hanging mirror. How to cut the miter joints accurately. How to put the grooves in for the mirror. How to go through all of those steps and make sure that you have accuracy. The next article is easy miter joint accuracy. If you use a miter saw, or if you use a miter gauge rather, if you use techniques that are not that accurate, that you haven't adjusted your saw for, or your compound miter saw for, you're going to end up with inaccuracies. This section talks about how to avoid those. Sharpening chisels and plane irons, all the steps that are used to do this. This is crucial for any woodworker to know how to sharpen. It doesn't matter the particular sharpening method you use. I could care less. You can use 3 or 4 different methods and end up with good sharpening, but the key thing is to pick one and stick with it for 6 to 9 months rather than jump around and choose different ones. Here's a side shaker table. A fine piece of furniture that requires good joinery, and it certainly does, because this is the last project in the book, and you're cutting mortise and tenons, you're doing dovetails, you're doing all sorts of things that are the next step in moving up the ladder for your woodworking skills. Lots and lots and lots of steps. How to do a book matching cut of wood on your bandsaw. That was just the top. Then we're talking about how to make the drawers. All the steps necessary to make the drawers. Many, many different steps, as you can see. Okay, what is the next thing? The next thing is, there's a lot on making the drawers, as you can imagine. Just a little bit about me, and then hard copy and internet references. What I've done is, with these several pages, is give you references of things that are not in the book that are very useful pieces of information or websites that you can get more information for, and why I've included them in the book. Then there's an extensive index at the back which lists every term and defines every term by a reference in the text. That's the whole book, and thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.